Hi, folks. Welcome to the Fast Company Grill.
Put it down here.
Everyone, it's so great to have you here, and I'm really excited for this conversation, which is going to be exciting and dynamic about creators and building culture and community and opening the doors for other creators. And today we have 4 people who represent really different parts of the creative ecosystem, from Hollywood film to global live art to the individual creator economy. But they all share a common philosophy about empowering others to be able to create and succeed. So I'm very pleased to introduce, we're going to start at the end, we've got Jack Giarraputo, who is a filmmaker, producer, co-founder of Happy Madison Productions. You know his legendary films, which include The Wedding Singer, Paul Blart, Mall Cop, Billy Madison, and of course Happy Gilmore and Happy Gilmore 2.
I'm also in Happy Gilmore.
He
I'm
is.
the announcer. I just go like this with Vern Lundquist.
We have Caroline Dobbs, who is a content creator and a recent graduate of Texas A&M. Whoop. And then we have Kevin Collins, who's the CEO of the LA-based creative studio Secret Walls, which brings artists together to compete head-to-head in live creative competitions. They also have a mural that's being painted right now, catty corner from us, so you can check it out after the session. And we have Dale Brisby, rodeo personality, entrepreneur, social media creator. He starred in the Netflix reality series How to Be a Cowboy. He founded Rodeo Time, which is an apparel and media company. It produces the podcast Rodeo Time and the YouTube series. He's also a Texas A&M grad. So thank you guys for being here. So let's start. Each of you has created a platform that influences culture and brings together community. Jack, let's start with yours. I brought up Happy Madison Productions, which funds large-scale projects, but also maintains a really close-knit relationship with film directors and comedians. You know all of their names, they're icons. Can you talk about, sort of creating that network in that community? Did that sort of we got some wind here in Texas. did that create sort of a flywheel of creativity to be able to bring together a group of people, again, for large scale productions, but a close-knit sort of family organization?
Yeah, thank you. I think comedy is best when you're comfortable. So if Adam and the guys are comfortable, you don't have to meet a bunch of new people, right? So that's super helpful to have the same creators, and then there's a shorthand of how to get the jokes, get everything on screen. I think Seth Rogen does it. I think Will Ferrell. I think everyone has their comfortable group with them. And then I would say our community is also the audience, who we try to just, give like a fun, optimistic ride, and therefore not like really have any messages or anything that could be divisive, and just more unite people where they can all hang out together and watch something, have a good time, and reference it. I hear references all the time from the different movies, and super fun. So we love working together with everyone, and we love the fans.
You stepped back from day-to-day production in about 2016, but you came back this past summer for Happy Gilmore 2, which you said you have a role in. What brought you back? Why was this the moment?
Well, that's a tough one. I didn't want to really make Happy Gilmore 2. I was like, oh, it's so hard to follow something, But Adam had a vision, and it turned out really well. And I was so happy. And of course, I wanted to be part of something we created as younger men together. So it was great. And now we're going to do Grown Ups Part 3 this summer.
I thought it was interesting, though, with Happy Gilmore 2, you seem to be like expanding that group of comedians. You have Marcelo Hernandez from Saturday Night Live there. Bad Bunny is funny. He's a comedian, too, in some ways, right?
Adam is great. First of all, a great friend and a great person, but he's also great at helping the younger people, giving them a spotlight that they can then go do their own movies. We have a bunch of people that have done that. And then obviously he made movies for his friends with Paul Blart, Deuce Bigalow, those type of movies. So, it's nice. He's just a generous, great guy. If you ever meet him, he'll be he'll be psyched to meet anyone. He loves everybody.
Yeah, invite him to the next Fast Company event. Standing invite. Kevin, I explained very briefly what Secret Walls does. You create live street art competitions. Can you explain, though, for somebody who hasn't seen it, what it looks like, who's involved in it, how it all comes to life?
I would love to. I'm going to explain it to you. I have to explain it to my parents probably once a week. So Secret Walls exists to find new ways into the global art scene. We built a universe where, in a very democratized way, you can walk in and explore and discover global street muralists, graffiti writers, cartoonists, illustrators in a live experiential setting. The front door to the Secret Walls house are 90-minute paint battles. You watch a canvas evolve over the course of that hour and a half. We call it a 2-hour show. It's, think Fight Club meets sport, meets, smoke machines and walkout music and some of the biggest contemporary artists in the world, along with who's next. We like to make these spaces because forever art was gatekept. It was not for us. It was for the select few that could afford it, that knew when it was going to happen, and were invited to those rooms. We opened up space. We made sure that this next generation who had access to artists in new and unique ways, they were following on social media, that they can get into a room, smell the paint, watch the process, and celebrate and find like-minded humans that wanted to celebrate the global art scene as well. Beyond just our battles, are so many other things that maybe we can get to. I feel like the luckiest guy in the world for being able to speak to muralists every single day and make space for them.
We were talking backstage, and you mentioned that you're thinking of launching a league around this. And there's a real, like you said, it's a sporting event. It sounds like a UFC kind of spectacle. How do you balance, a real commitment to art, which is your mission, with this, the spectacle of it all?
A lot of dialogue. I mean, you have to. We came up. We're 20 years old this year, actually, and Terry Guys, a lovely lad from the Isle of Wight, founded Secret Walls in the basement of a pub after he saw an MC battle. He saw art was dimly lit in the background of a stage and thought, let's bring that forward. This is before Exit Through the Gift Shop and Banksy, and it was still very much vandalism and done under the cover of darkness. And now it's beautification, and those same people that were writing fines and tickets are paying us to do it. The balance comes in dialogue with artists and who steps on our stages. And we look at brand partnerships like Texas A&M as supporters and investors, not advertisers. We don't want to just shower our stages with brand marks. We want to authentically build relationships with partners that can help fuel more rooms and more stages and more careers in the art space. So
speaking of sport and spectacle, Dale, the sport and spectacle that you're really showcasing is very traditional. It's centuries old, but also you're bringing satire, you're bringing humor, you're taking it into the digital age and putting it on TikTok and YouTube and Reels and Netflix. How do you see yourself, or do you see yourself bridging that gap between tradition and kind of the modern entertainment ecosystem?
Well, at the core of what I do as the world's greatest bull rider and the most humble, it is bring value. I think that I love to make people laugh. I think that when we get ourselves on screen, whether it's a painting, a movie, or a podcast, or a short clip, whatever it is, we got to bring value. And I like to do it in the form of comedy. And I was kind of a niche within a niche, rodeo within the Western community. So I think my audience is really anybody that appreciates a horse. And so if I can bring some sort of comedy to that demographic, then it's the start of a job for me. And so early on when I got started, a lot of the older generation in my industry did not like it, but kind of like they say in Gladiator, if you win over the mob, you win your freedom. And so with the internet, I got to go straight to the audience, and I won over enough to win my freedom. And so like I can remember some older people in the industry that, like I'm still here, 14 years later, and they just kind of got to put up with me now. So,
who do you think of as your audience? I mean, is it somebody like me who lives in New York City but likes cowboy culture, or is it people who are in the culture?
I think both. The actual rodeo cowboys. There's only hundreds of bull riders, So I think it's people that appreciate the lifestyle, and really everybody knows Adele Brisby in whatever industry you're in. So there's a lot that you can when you see that guy, you know who it is, and you can all think of one right now probably. And so it does connect to a lot of different industries, but the rodeo world is intriguing. Whether you get to sit on a horse or don't, it's still a very interesting sport, and I get to be around it every day.
So Caroline, you've talked sort of in the past about how you originally focused on creating viral content just for views and likes, and then you sort of realized the importance of community. Was there a specific moment that made you realize that you needed to sort of pivot your strategy, not just to sort of doing what the algorithms liked, but also to sort of a deeper storytelling and looked at it more holistically?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that it really came down to, do I want my content to be recognizable, or do I as a person want to be recognizable? Am I able to make a difference online? Are people going to see my face and be like, oh, it's that girl that ripped her dad's arm off in a funny viral video? Or is it, oh, that's Caroline, she goes to A&M, and now I want to go to A&M, and just making a difference in that way.
And you've used a consistent formula. You have a signature style of sort of ceiling angle, get ready with me video. So like when you develop a signature style for content, how do you evolve? I mean, you've graduated now, some of your audience is maturing, you're maturing. How do you kind of keep a signature style while also evolving?
It's been really fun to kind of navigate that change from my day in the life at A&M every single day, and now day in the life in Austin, working at Waterboy Electrolytes and doing all the things. I'm Waterboy. But it's been really cool. It's been kind of every day just trying to keep some consistency in my video style, and I think my audience has been really receptive to it, and I, of course, love my A&M community. They've been with me since the beginning, and I've appreciated them coming with me. Yeah, whoop! Appreciated them coming with me to Austin, even though I'm in trader territory, but it's been really,
Look to your left.
We don't talk. We're not talking about that right now. Show us the one underneath. That's right. There we go. Yeah. Yeah, no, but it's been an amazing journey so far.
So Jack, I want to talk about sort of gatekeepers in all of your words, but let's start with Hollywood, which I think might have the most formidable gatekeepers. When you see all the upheaval in Hollywood right now, consolidation, but also, lots of different platforms available, like, Tubi, or even sort of all of the social media platforms. What do you think that means for a creator today that wants to get into Hollywood? Is it easier or harder than when you sort of first started?
Yeah, it's a lot easier now. It's the cream rises to the top from views or from, streams, whatever. It's like easy to give advice now. Used to be like, can you introduce me to the casting director? Like when I just saw her, I would be like, oh, back in the day, I'd be like, you should meet our casting director, whatever. Now it's like we would come to her because she has her own voice. So even story-wise, everything, it's much easier now. My kids have it easy, of course, and they're also Nepo babies.
Do you think it's important still to find that creative community like you did with Happy Madison and sort of build with them and then maybe go bigger?
I mean, look at the rise of Dude Perfect. Woo! I mean, that's a bunch of guys together, and they didn't need me to say, come into our movie, Waterboy 2 or whatever. They did their own thing, right? So community is great because, like I said, the chemistry, the comfortableness, and you see it everywhere now, and it's exciting. And her and her dad, they have their little thing going on. So,
Dale, you've always been interested in rodeo, but I think in the last several years, we've seen this explosion of interest from, again, parts of the country that I represent. There have been things like, the Beyonce Cowboy Carter tour, but there's also your own Netflix show. There's sort of these moments when cowboy culture has really popped out on the coast. Do you see yourself as a conduit to those audiences? Do you see yourself helping members of the rodeo community, the Western community, kind of reach a bigger audience?
Ultimately, that's my goal. So I would hope, yes. When we were starting the Netflix show, the producers, we were looking for a direction to go with it, and I told them how many messages a day I get from people saying, how do I get started riding bulls? How do I get started rodeoing or ranching? And so that's why we called it How to Be a Cowboy, was because of the public's interest in it. And Chris Ledoux had a song, You Just Can't See Them from the Road, referring to cowboys, that they're out in the pasture. And I think with Snapchat and Instagram and TikTok, you can now see us from the road. And I was one of those first guys to really start Snapchatting. And so they say you can either be first or best, and I just happen to be first, so. And best. Yeah, right.
I was giving you the
credit. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's why I wear this hat. This is my travel size, by the way. I left the big one at the house.
Do you see people in your community that are coming up to you and asking, like, how do I do that? Like, how can I build my following?
Yes. Yes, I think and the problem is, and it sounds like, Caroline has it figured out too, like whenever you do, a lot of people go to social media for themselves, and like, how does it, this is what I'm eating, this is what I'm wearing, but when you have to switch that mindset to bringing value to the audience. And so the ones and there's a lot popping up. Like, I am not the only Western influencer at all by any means anymore, even podcasts. And I love the competition, though. Like Jack said, the cream will rise to the top.
Kevin, I spoke about the formidable gatekeepers in Hollywood, but the art world certainly has them in the form of gallerists and curators and such. How do you see yourself bringing down those walls, letting more artists in? And I know that Secret Walls does have some programs in place to try to really just, more beyond the battle, keep fostering the art community. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, 100%. We stand for programming that is accessible to every neighborhood across the globe. Our battles sometimes are ticketed, are mostly free. We have Secret Walls Academy, which is artists teaching artists, next generation, space making, curriculum led. We do a lot of, artist dinners and like different curatorial touches that make it easy and accessible to walk into a room and gather. And I think, when Secret Walls was founded, now we're, 4,000 artists across the globe from Jakarta to LA have programmed with us. They're a community. Oftentimes these studio artists are isolated, they're introverted, they have a hard time gathering, and if they want to, they don't know where to go. We have built those rooms, we build those stages, we turn the lights on, and we make sure it's easy to find one another and easy to build with one another, and then they become collectives themselves, and we like being part of that journey. So I think when it comes to removing the gates from the art world, that's kind of what we wake up and think about every single day of how do we do this right? What's the benchmark for, does this make sense for Secret Walls? And not only us, but to the global art communities. So we stand for free, accessible, and space making.
I'd love to, actually, a follow-up question on that. Do you have studio artists that come to you that have never thought about creating sort of a mural or done street art, and they're like, well, this is sort of an entry point for them?
There are artists that'll walk into a battle who, I won't name the artist, but he was incarcerated. The first stop when he got out was to a battle with a camera. He learned how to take pictures. And he is now one of the highest grossing global contemporary artists in the world. He sells murals and oil paintings for $150,000. This is 10 years ago. And the reason was he found art a different way. Like, he found art in a way that felt accepting, that felt non-judgmental, and that brought his fullest, authenticity out. We don't say the word community. We let others say it for us. Everyone says community. They want to, you let the artists say that for you. Our community is so strong because of how and where and why we support every day, not just established artists, but who's next, who should be discovered, who's coming up, and how we can help that journey at some point along the way.
You brought up the word authenticity, which is obviously sort of paramount today in so many art forms, but I think especially when it comes to being on social media. Audiences can sniff out inauthenticity a mile away. So Caroline, I'd love to ask you not just how you approach authenticity for your content, but especially when you're working with brand partners, which is a big part of it. How do you keep it real, keep it authentic? And also, I think in your role at Waterboy, because now you are working with other influencers, how do you make sure that you're keeping their work authentic and also, related to a brand?
I think it's really fun just to kind of keep in some of the clips other people I think would probably delete before posting on the internet. I think people crave authenticity, and to be on the internet, it's very curated these days. And to wake up in the morning and be 15 minutes late for work, but just filming the whole time and just showing the process of it, people are like, you know what, I relate to that, and suddenly I want to follow along with the rest of the journey for the day, and they might get something out of that video. But I do love just kind of being myself online. I don't really know how to be anything other than that, so that's been really fun. And then bringing that authenticity to just like my 9-to-5 workspace is really fun too. I like to say that I'm a personality hire a little bit, or that I'm allowed to be late to work because I'm pure of heart. So
I'm gonna try that. Dale, what does authenticity mean to you? I mean, your persona is outsized. You are surely the world's greatest bull rider, but there's also a lot of satire and humor involved in here. How do you navigate, authenticity, humor, satire? Do you think about this, or is it just sort of natural?
I mean, everybody loves to have a good time. Most everybody loves to laugh, and so that comes natural, I think. But we all get haters in the comments, and one of the things that offended me the most was I made a video where I trained this bull to ride. Like, I put a saddle on him and I could ride him around. And I thought, I want to gather those bucking bulls riding this bull. And, if that happens, they're probably going to fight. And it's fine if you're on his back and they're fighting head to head, but if they get sideways, anyway, it can go sideways in a moment. And it did. And it got a lot of views, but somebody commented on there like, something about something bad happening for the views. And it made me so mad because the people who I grew up with and know me the best know that I would do that with or without a camera, 1,000%. I just happen to be making a living doing it now with a camera. And so for me, I think authenticity is important. I think you're right. People sniff it out. But yeah, that everybody can see it. We all recognize it when we see it. And I love what I do. And so that's why I think it comes across as authentic.
I'm curious because you launched Rodeo Times. You have your own brand, your own apparel brand as well. Was it really important for you to sort of create your own infrastructure that lives outside of the social media algorithms so that you could create something sort of long lasting? I mean, if we're talking to people who might aspire to get into the creator space, how did that give you some ballast or a foundation?
Well, I think when you're doing what Caroline and I do, you have an opportunity to make income 3 different ways. You can have a sponsor, you can offer a service, or you can sell your own product. And for me, that's the largest stream of revenue out of the 3. And, I knew that I was going to be marketing something. Caps and T-shirts are the quickest thing that everybody turns to. And so for me, it was a fun way to put like my little sayings like "old son" on a cap, and it was natural. I had like a salesman. I was selling yo-yos in 2nd grade. So that came natural to me. But it also opened my eyes to and helps me price myself to sponsors because I know what I'm worth. And so when they call now, like, hey, this is what it costs because I know I can make you X amount. And at the end of the day, it's all about selling witcher digits. And so I think when you can attach sales to it, would be the ultimate barometer of worth when it comes to the conversation of brands. There's a much larger conversation of like what's the impact we can have on society and sharing our faith that is worth a lot more than money. But in terms of branding, that's where I think
Kevin, a lot of artists need to sort of make that negotiation between pursuing the art that they want to pursue and pursuing the art that they know will sell. Do you have any advice for how an artist can navigate that and feel good about what they're doing, but also keep the lights on?
Yeah, I mean, it's the hardest question probably in our universe is how these artists balance commercial opportunities with day-to-day studio work, short-term versus long-term, and a lot of these artists get inspired annually and their work changes, and you see it different. It goes from abstract to a little bit more photorealistic or vice versa, and watching these artists go on that journey is pretty fascinating. I'd like to think, and I do know, that us in their corner, especially on the commercial side, where we're balancing opportunities and finding opportunities to help artists fund their careers and their studio time and what's next in their next gallery show. We help protect the integrity of their work. We organize, and a lot of times too, is where is the art going? Is this going in a campaign? How are you using it? Are you monetizing? We protect all of that stuff, so we want to make sure that all gets balanced. But it's age old, and I'd argue artists have no idea when they wake up tomorrow what's going to inspire them. All I do know, being in this field, is it's going to be something incredible, and we can't wait to support it. I mean, we've got artists that have turned into chefs, have turned into fashion designers, have turned into teachers, and it's unbelievable to watch these talents.
Have any of them turned into bull riders?
Well, Dale, yeah.
I was thinking you guys could combine forces, right? And throw the artist on the bull.
Let's do it.
Let him run around, scramble his brain, then see what he does on the show.
I think we need like a Happy Gilmore bull riding mashup here.
We'll talk after the show.
All right, we got just a few minutes left here, so Jack, take us home. The Academy Awards were last night. Hollywood and authenticity are top of mind. Yes, no, you're the safe space, good company here. What did you are a voting member of the Academy. What were you voting for? What were you reading for?
Okay, so first, who watched the whole show last night? Raise their hand. Anyone? 1, 2. Would you call that 5%? 3%? Yeah. I think if I was in charge over there, I am a voting member, and I liked Formula One, the movie. I thought that was the best of the movies. There was a movie Adam did with George Clooney called Jay Kelly, which was very good. You guys should watch it. A different role for Adam, but it was a nice movie. But I thought that should have been nominated. Anyway, I would just try to make it not so left, right? Because a lot of people don't watch it. You know what I mean? It's the Grammys, similar, just a little more centrist with everything, a little more balance in the voices that come out would be nice. And like the old days, I think everyone used to be excited about watching it, and now it's kind of divisive, and that's sad.
Are you saying the award show or the movies that are coming out of Hollywood?
Well, I think it's both. I think the movies are trying to win, so they give the voters what they want, and they win. So if you look at the documentaries, a lot of them are like, "How bad is the world?" versus like an inspirational story of the guy with one arm who could do the Happy Gilmore swing like your dad, which I love. That's a great swing. Go check it out. I just want it to be like it was in the old days, and I would always push for that, and I'm going to start to do some other content in that with that goal in mind.
All right, we actually are out of time, but I do want to ask this question, so sorry, guys. One piece, can you each very quickly give me one piece of advice for somebody out here who might be interested in your field and breaking in? What is one piece of advice that you could give them right now to get them on their way? Jack, we'll start with you and we'll come this way.
Piece of advice to be a movie producer is to be the son of a movie producer.
Perfect.
Dad, you really did me dirty there. My advice would be to get into the social media space is don't hold yourself back, just go for it. My life has drastically changed in the last year, and I've pivoted my content 18 different times and done different niches and different things like that. So definitely just start, make a video, post it. You never know what's going to happen.
I would say support your local artist. Walk into the pop-up shop, buy the T-shirt, buy the sticker pack, buy the poster, support local, and that goes a long way.
Always give 100% unless you're donating blood.
Thank you so much for closing it up for me. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.